Will somebody tell me if we're supposed to start the program?
Freeman hits the ball to right field.
Into right field. She is gone. Oh, what a pass. Doncic, perfection there on the assist.
A little magic from Doncic.
Stafford takes the shoulder, takes a shot downfield. It is caught by Nakua. He pinned him on his shoulder and made the catch.
One of a kind player. One of a kind season. Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Going in. Will it count? LeBron James at the buzzer.
This game's in the Admiral refrigerator. The door is closed. The lights out. Butter's getting hard. The eggs are cooling, and the Jell-O is jiggling.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the LA Sports Roundup podcast. I'm your host, Mike Andrade, sitting here recording live December 4th, 2025. It is a Thursday morning. I hope everyone is doing well. Happy holidays to everyone. I hope Mariah Carey hasn't awakened from the grave like The Undertaker does and chokeslam you to death already, because we all know that stores and malls and, you know, all over the place, Mariah Carey has awakened from the dead. Well, not that she's dead, but, you know, figuratively. Quick programming notes before we begin today's podcast. I want to let you guys know that the latest Wrestling with Ryan podcast is up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere you can download. And anywhere you're listening to this podcast, Wrestling with Ryan was just uploaded yesterday, so check it out. For all my pro wrestling nerds out there, we're talking all things Survivor Series, War Games, WWE Creative, why it sucks. So go ahead and check that out if wrestling is your thing. But yes, today we are talking all LA sports as usual. We're going to get into the Clippers, we're going to get into the Lakers, and we're going to get into the Rams. Late Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning, news broke that the Los Angeles Clippers are waiving future Hall of Fame point guard Chris Paul. Paul posted on his Instagram story a little before 3 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday that he had just learned he was being sent home from the LA Clippers from Atlanta, where the Clippers were going to play that evening. Shortly after the news broke, Clippers GM Lawrence Frank texted a statement to ESPN stating, "We are parting ways with Chris, and he will no longer be with the team. We will work with him on the next steps of his career. Chris is a legendary Clipper who had an historic career. I want to make one thing very clear. No one is blaming Chris for our underperformance. I accept responsibility for the record we have right now. There are a lot of reasons why we've struggled. We're grateful for the impact Chris has made on the franchise." Wow. Okay, so lots to dig into there. So as we all know, Chris Paul rejoined the Clippers back in July to basically end his career. He didn't announce it at the time, but going into the season, we all knew that Chris Paul was going to be his last season. And sure enough, shortly thereafter, Chris Paul announced that this would indeed be his final season in the NBA. And what a feel-good story it is, right? Chris Paul, a legendary player, has played on many teams, but, you know, most famously has been an LA Clipper for what 7 or 8 years. He was a Clipper, and is basically in my opinion, the greatest Clipper of all time. You can't deny that. Yeah, you have Blake Griffin and maybe Elton Brand and some other players that you can think of, but it's Chris Paul. Chris Paul, when he was traded to the Los Angeles Clippers back in 2011, after he was stolen away from my Los Angeles Lakers by David Stern, nixing the trade that was going to send him to the Lakers and continue Kobe Bryant's reign of terror for collecting championship rings. The Clippers, you know, they got him, and he turned their franchise around. Obviously, the Clippers were a disaster of a team for many, many decades before that. They had only made the playoffs maybe one time in maybe 15 or 16 years, something like that. But they were an absolute train wreck. Obviously, Donald Sterling was the owner. He has been disgraced from the NBA ever since 2014 when he got caught on a recording saying racial stuff about black people and Magic Johnson. And we don't have to get into any of that. But the Clippers were a disaster of a franchise. Chris Paul comes, changes it. Lob City with Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and they're an annual playoff team after that. Had championship aspirations, didn't work out for a number of reasons, whether it was injury or this, that, or the other. things didn't work out from his era with the Clippers. They had a lot of great moments together, but they didn't win a championship. But that's okay because he turned that franchise around. They were able to become a valuable franchise from what they were in the past under Donald Sterling. Steve Ballmer comes. They turn things around with the Lob City era, and they're not looked at upon anybody's eyes anymore as the runs of the NBA. In fact, for years they were up among the top of the Western Conference in many points. So then in 2017, his time ends with the LA Clippers, gets traded to the Houston Rockets, and then thereafter, he goes to the Phoenix Suns, goes to the NBA Finals, but just never able to win an NBA championship. And that's kind of been the story of his career. Hall of Fame player, great player, but just never able to win a title. And you know what? That's okay because he is a Hall of Fame player. It's not indicative of who he is as a player. It's just a matter of bad luck. You had guys like Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson. The list goes on and on. Steve Nash, of guys that were Hall of Fame players but could not win an NBA championship. And that's okay. But he comes back to the LA Clippers. I think, what is this, his 20th season? This is a storybook ending as you could get, as much of a storybook ending as you can get, and this was perfect for him to end his career as an LA Clipper. And it's what fans and everyone around the NBA wanted to see. Because if he wasn't winning an NBA championship, at least he can end his career as an LA Clipper, where people were going to remember him the most. Now, obviously, the Clippers were not going to be in contention this year. Look at the way their roster was constructed. A bunch of aging veterans, guys that do not mesh well together. Kawhi Leonard, they had begun the season in controversy with the Kawhi Leonard stuff and aspiration and everything that got reported by Pablo Torre and his investigation before the season started for the LA Clippers. It was embarrassing for the Clippers to start their season with controversy like that, and the jury's still out on what the ramifications of all of that's going to be in terms of them circumventing the cap, essentially trying to pay Kawhi Leonard under the table. We don't know what the ramifications still are going to be of that, but it is never, ever a good thing for a franchise to start their season with controversy like that. That's a black eye, a bruise under the Clippers' name. And I think, that was just an omen in itself to start the season. And let alone, look, you got guys like Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Bradley Beal, and then you had Chris Paul and some of the other guys that are there, and it just didn't seem like it was something that was going to work. Obviously, it has not worked. They're 5-16 on the season, one of the worst teams in the NBA in total, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better despite having a victory last night in Atlanta. But the Clippers are a train wreck, and it was very indicative since the start that this season was not going to be well for them, and it's shown. 5-16, not great. There's been a lot of things going on within the locker room that is not great. And Paul, being an outspoken person himself, during the years before when he was with the LA Clippers, there was a lot of times when teammates had a lot of friction with him because he definitely held teammates accountable in certain ways where it was uncomfortable for guys. But that was just his leadership style. He held teammates accountable for their lack of play, their lack of willingness to work hard, and that was the type of leadership that Chris Paul implemented every team he went to, and especially when he was with the Clippers. I know for a fact it rubbed DeAndre Jordan the wrong way, and many other guys. I think it was Blake Griffin as well. Just at times where he felt like he needed to get the best out of them, and if he felt like you were just kind of like lackadaisical about things, he was going to speak up. It's been well documented at points. That's what Chris Paul does. And I think, going based off of what Lou Williams said in another podcast or on a show, we can talk about that. That's what Chris Paul was doing. Now, on the Run It Back show on YouTube, former Clipper Lou Williams, he had an extensive career in the NBA, played a few seasons with the LA Clippers, but he was Chris Paul's former teammate, and he shared some insight into what he has heard into what led into the decision for the Clippers releasing Chris Paul. He said, "From what I've gathered, there are a few scenarios in which CP was holding people accountable, from players to staff, from coaching staff up to the front office. He even addressed the team and apologized and said, 'Look, my criticisms are coming from a good place. I want us to be good. I want us to get this thing right. And he says he was just holding guys accountable. He also went on to say in another statement, there was another scenario where he was critical of the front office as well. I think that was the one that broke the camel's back. That was the straw that broke the camel's back when he had some criticisms for the front office as well. I think that's what brought this to a head in the early hours. Alright, so think about that. Chris Paul, a future Hall of Fame point guard, is speaking up on what he thinks is what's going wrong with the franchise. Obviously, at that time, they're 4-16 or whatever their record is. Things are horrible at that point. So that's what a veteran leader is supposed to do in that locker room. He's supposed to hold guys accountable. And if your veteran leader, a guy that's a future Hall of Famer, is on the roster and is not speaking up, what does that show you about that person? But that's Chris Paul in himself. He is speaking up. He is speaking up in terms of to what he thinks is going wrong, and he's going to hold not only himself but other people, the front office, coaching staff accountable for what's going on as well, and what he thinks is going wrong. When your team is 5-16, it's not just about one guy. It's not about three guys. It's about the entire piece of the pie. It's about players sharing responsibility. It's about coaching staff sharing responsibility, and the front office as well. As long as nothing personal was said to anybody individually, people cannot be taking it personally like Michael Jordan did in his documentary where, oh, I took that personal. No, you can't do that, okay? It's not an indicative shot of you personally when the basketball team that you're running, the basketball team that you're playing on, is 5-16 and one of the worst teams in the NBA currently. And speaking of the coaching staff, Clippers head coach Ty Lue gave a statement before the game on Wednesday. He said, I don't think it's necessarily helped our team, Lue said before Wednesday's game. I mean, I don't think there's a reason we're 5-16 is because of CP's play. I just think that it wasn't a good fit for what he was looking for. Do I want to see CP go out like this? No. No, I have a lot of respect for him. He's been a friend of mine over the years, and you don't want to see a great go out like this. But I'm pretty sure he will find something because he's a great player. I didn't want to see it end like this. Well, yeah, he's being very, I guess, respectful in his comments, but diplomatic, if you would say. But there was also reports that Ty Lue didn't talk to Chris Paul for weeks, or at least a week. Not sure what to believe there. I'm not sure how a head coach cannot talk to one of his players for an extended time like that. But yeah, all of the blame goes around everybody here. Okay, it's not just one person. It's not just the front office. Not just the coaching staff. It's not just the players. It's everybody. Everybody shares responsibility, and it's as a whole. Everyone needs to take accountability individually, but as a whole as well, to I guess take responsibility into why you're having the season that you're having. To me, it's about a couple things here. One, Lawrence Frank. Lawrence Frank did a horrendous job constructing this roster together, believing that it was going to be a competitive roster and a team that was on the verge of winning a championship, because absolutely they were not. Now, the Clippers did well last season. Finally, Kawhi Leonard was healthy enough to play throughout the season as much as he could, and also he had a pretty good first round playoff series against the Denver Nuggets. I believe they took him to 6 games, and for Kawhi Leonard, he looked like the old Kawhi Leonard at points, and the Clippers did surprisingly well last season. But that's coming off the heels of letting Paul George walk away. Letting Paul George walk away was a horrendous mistake for the LA Clippers. A guy in which they put all their chips on the table for in terms of bringing in several seasons before. Let us not remind you of all the assets they gave Oklahoma City, all the draft picks they gave Oklahoma City, including the reigning defending MVP of the league, the reigning defending finals MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They traded away a future cornerstone player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for Paul George to bring in. And yeah, they underachieved with Paul George significantly. They didn't, they only reached the Western Conference Finals. That was their big hoo-ha. Never reached the finals in itself, never won a championship. But yeah, they brought in Paul George, and they just let him walk away, seemingly for nothing. When you let a player like Paul George walk away for nothing, it's going to be an adverse effect on your team, and it's not going to be well. This is not subtraction by addition here, or addition by subtraction, whatever you want to call it, okay? Paul George is, granted, he was injured and underperformed as a Clipper, but yeah, you have to bring in assets if you're going to let somebody like that walk away. And then you got James Harden. James Harden has done okay as a Clipper. He hasn't been a train wreck like he was as a Net or a 76er, but at the same time, the guy is not a former MVP like he used to be. The guy plays absolutely zero defense. He's been okay on offense. You know, he's still racking up, 25, 28 a game, something like that. And it's helped somewhat, but it's not winning ball games. When you're not winning basketball games, that's what it ultimately comes down to. And James Harden has not been a difference maker on the Clippers. In all of those scenarios, it's at the hands of Lawrence Frank. Lawrence Frank has done a horrendous job constructing this team. And you go back into what Kendrick Perkins said on ESPN. He doesn't know what kind of skeletons Lawrence Frank has in, I guess the Clippers closet. But he definitely knows some things, because the man has done a horrible job and still has been able to keep his job. Now, I'm never advocating for a man to be fired. I'm not like the Mavericks fans chanting for Nico Harrison to be fired. But, I mean, look, the facts are the facts. The Clippers are one of the worst teams in the NBA this season, and you cannot let this continue. And also, the big fish here in the pond is Steve Ballmer. Ballmer takes direct responsibility for letting this happen. Ballmer is the owner of the Clippers. Ballmer makes all the decisions in terms of what needs for the Clippers to be successful. And I will put this all on Ballmer for the aspiration stuff that happened at the beginning of the season, and for them, for their investigations, and then them finding out they're circumventing the salary cap. That is solely on Steve Ballmer, and Ballmer allowing for Lawrence Frank to construct this roster together. That is solely on Ballmer. Ballmer needs to be held accountable as well. He does not walk away scot-free, and I think it time and time again is proving that Ballmer needs to be held accountable for the disaster in which the Clippers are turning out to be. Now, obviously, it's never going to be a disaster in which Donald Sterling had. That's a completely different issue. What I'm saying here is that the Clippers are not well right now. They're not well, and they don't, honestly, I don't think they have any hope to be well in the future. Ballmer let a future Hall of Fame point guard be dismissed in the fashion that he has. Ballmer should be on his knees kissing the feet of Chris Paul for bringing relevancy back to the Clippers a decade ago. Okay? That's what Ballmer needs to have been doing. He needs to retire Chris Paul's jersey as the first ever retiree in Clippers history at the, whatever you want to call it, the Intuit Dome, and retire his jersey, number 3. It needed to be displayed in front of everyone, in front of Clippers Nation, to celebrate the man. And instead, you're kicking his ass out the door and saying, don't let the door hit you from behind. That's what you're saying. That's the type of environment that you're allowing to have had. That's an embarrassing thing for the Clippers to do. It's an embarrassment. You know, there's no way around it. It's an embarrassment for Steve Ballmer. It's an embarrassment for the Clippers franchise, and it's an embarrassment for the Clippers fans. And Clippers fans, you know, I know I hate on you guys sometimes because me being a Lakers fan, I think of the Clippers as little brothers, and they will always be little brothers in my opinion. But you know what? You guys deserve better than that, at least. And you know what? The Clippers, they need to start holding Ballmer. Needs to start holding people accountable for bad decisions, and including himself. Because this isn't the first time that Ballmer has done a not so great job at rewarding future Hall of Fame players, and at least legacy players in itself. Need we remind you of what happened with Blake Griffin after Blake Griffin signed an extension with the Clippers in 2017? Ballmer said, I want you to be the first Clipper ever to have your jersey retired, and I want it to be at the Staples Center's rafters and all that. He wanted Blake Griffin. He got on his knees and said, Blake, I want you to be a legacy player with the Clippers. And what happens when 5 months later? He trades him to the Detroit Pistons. Like, that happened out of nowhere. that happened out of nowhere, and it was very shocking. Like, what happened there? This is not the first time that Ballmer has done a job like this, and it's I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say and what his logic is for coming up with decisions treating legacy players like this, but it's not good. It's not good. Now, here's what I think is going to happen going forward. It's going to be a yard sale now. You know, Kawhi Leonard, yard sale. You know, take him for whatever we can get. James Harden, yard sale. Take him for whatever we can get. They're going to start putting a lot of guys on the market, and it's going to be a a Black Friday sale in which you can grab all these guys and just turn them loose into the market, and they're going to start fresh. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that's what I hope happens for the Clippers, because that's what needs to happen for the Clippers. Start just trying to trade away whatever you can right now, bring in as much assets as possible in order to start to get this franchise back on its feet. Now, as far as CP3 goes, look, I think he's going to land on a team somewhere into the mid part of the season. I don't think this is the last we've seen of Chris Paul. I think a team like Oklahoma City or anybody that's going to be a contending NBA team will probably try to give him a look if they have a roster spot available and it's a need for a ball handling point guard. I think they're going to give him a look. You know, I don't think this is the last we've seen of Chris Paul. You know, I could definitely see Oklahoma City. That would be great if Chris Paul could re-sign with Oklahoma City, a team he's played with before, and you know, has legacy back when he was a Hornet in Oklahoma City. I think that would be great, and that would give him a shot to win an NBA championship. Another team I'd like to see him go to is San Antonio. San Antonio, he just previously played there, I think before the Clippers, and so I think that'd be another shot for him just to at least be in the playoffs again, and hopefully we can see that happen. What I don't want to see him do is become a Laker. I don't think there's any need for him to be a Laker at this point. I think that ship has sailed. It's been far gone. We don't need any ball handlers at this point. We need players that can play defense. We need players that are versatile. And Chris Paul is not any of that. No disrespect to Chris Paul, but he's none of that. So, you know, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, I think would be great for him. But yeah, you know, hopefully he does land on a team going forward. So as you guys know, I've been on a fitness journey the last several months, and as an avid CrossFitter, I'm constantly looking for different proteins to try. And I don't know about you, but I hate protein powders that have that bland, chalky taste. And that's why I'm taking the time out through today's podcast to introduce to you Clear Whey Protein Powder, a refreshing high-protein drink that transforms your post-workout routine. Crafted with pure whey protein isolate, this innovative formula offers a light and flavorful alternative to traditional protein shakes. With zero lactose and zero sugar, it caters to those seeking a clean, transparent approach to fitness nutrition without compromising on taste or quality. My personal favorite flavor is strawberry watermelon. It has that crisp, summertime flavor, perfect for your taste buds. But you can also try wild blue raspberry. Both are incredibly delicious. And with 20 grams of protein per serving, it's fulfilling my CrossFit needs. That's why Clear Whey Protein stands out with its crystal clear appearance and refreshing flavors, making it the perfect companion for your active lifestyle. Whether you're hitting the gym or need a protein boost during the day, this drink seamlessly integrates into your routine. And it's super easy to make. All you gotta do is just add water, mix it up a little bit, and boom, you got yourself a delicious protein drink, and say goodbye to all the bloating from all the other protein products out there. And best yet, I'm offering 20% off to listeners of today's podcast when you go to clearprotein.com. That's KLEAR protein.com. When you go to checkout, all you have to do is put in our discount code. That is LACEEMUP. That's LACEEMUP. That's code LACEEMUP when you go to checkout, and you'll get 20% off Clear Protein products. Elevate your daily protein intake with confidence and clarity. Choose Clear Whey Protein Powder and experience the difference today. All right, welcome back, guys. Now into our Week 14 Rams report, and the Rams are coming off a loss, a devastating loss, a loss in which we had not experienced in over 6 weeks. A game which I didn't predict that we were going to lose, but it happened. We lost last Sunday against the Carolina Panthers, 31-28. Early on into the game, everything seemed to be business as usual. Matthew Stafford threw a touchdown to Davante Adams on the first drive, continuing what had been an impressive streak of touchdown passes without interceptions. The run game, usually a reliable foundation for the Rams, was solid again. Backs Kyron Williams and Blake Corum combined for a strong production on the ground. But, turnovers, that's what did the Rams. That's what did him. Stafford threw 2 interceptions, and I just got done last week saying he hadn't thrown an interception since week 2. Well, you know what? He had 2 of them last Sunday, and then unfortunately he had a fumble that cost the Rams the victory. And a pattern I've noticed all throughout the season is the Rams allowing for 4th down conversions. It cost them late in the game, including a go-ahead 43-yard touchdown from Panthers quarterback Bryce Young, and then added a near-silent third quarter in which the offense only saw 1 possession. That did the Rams in for the game, and it's okay. You know what? We're fine. The Rams are still at 9-3 overall in the season. It did cost them a bit in positioning. The Rams continue to hold their number 1 spot in the NFC West, but now again are tied with the Seattle Seahawks at 9-3, and it comes down into the last month of the season where it's going to come down into a nail biter of who's going to have home field advantage going into the NFC playoffs and going forward into the postseason in general. And also do not forget that the San Francisco 49ers are also just a hair behind the Seahawks and the Rams at 9-4. So up next for the Rams in Week 14, we are slotted to play the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona, and it's a big game for the Rams to not only bounce back, but to limit the turnovers, in which cost them the game against the Carolina Panthers, but be disciplined on defense as well. The secondary needs to tighten up and avoid giving up big plays, and it's going to be a valuable game for the Rams to go forward into the last month of the season. But let's see how the Rams can hold up, and hopefully our Rams can bounce back, and let's vamos Rams. There's nothing better than coming home from a long day of work, turning on the game and having a cold beverage in hand. Just sometimes a beer doesn't cut it. And that's why I'm introducing to you today Cannabis Seltzer from shop.getgoodsfeel.com. It's a redefining refreshment with its innovative range of THC-infused beverages. Founded to offer a new era of relaxation, Good Feels crafts drinks that provide a consistent, clean, and enjoyable experience. Each product is meticulously formulated with high-quality, natural ingredients, ensuring an uplifting mood, without the drawbacks of traditional THC consumption. Good Feels believes in the power of nature and wellness, delivering beverages that harmonize taste and tranquility. These drinks are designed for those seeking a balanced lifestyle, blending seamlessly into social gatherings, relaxing evenings, or any moment that calls for a touch of calm. Their commitment to transparency and quality is evident in every sip, making them a trustworthy choice for those looking to explore the benefits of THC as a great-tasting cannabis seltzer. Don't call me Santa Claus, but today I'm offering my listeners 20% off at checkout when you go to shop.getgoodfeels.com. Use our promo code LACEEMUP at checkout, and you can enjoy exclusive savings when you try these delicious flavors as blood orange, pineapple mango, grapefruit, or even the beverage enhancers such as lemonade and much more. Heck, even get the bundle while you're at it too. These drinks are the perfect combination for watching your LA teams. Go to shop.getgoodfeels.com. You have to be 21 plus only to buy. And remember, use our promo code at checkout. That's LACEEMUP. That's Lace 'em Up. And ease your mind with Cannabis Seltzer beverages. That's Cannabis Seltzer from shop.getgoodfeels.com. Now, a bit of news and notes in Lakerland here. On a somber note, we want to wish our condolences to the Campbell family, as NBA great Eldon Campbell, former Laker, has passed away at the age of 57. Eldon Campbell, the all-time leading scorer at Clemson, who played for the LA Lakers in the 90s, won an NBA title with the Detroit Pistons, died earlier this week as it was announced by the NBA. You know, a lot of OG Laker fans will remember Campbell for his days on the Lakers as Big Easy, pairing him with Nick Van Exel and Eddie Jones and Vlade Divac. A lot of people are very fond of those teams, and it's a part of a lot of people's childhood. And so for Campbell, he didn't necessarily have a huge impact on the Lakers in terms of championships. I know when we think of Lakers legacy, we think of championships, but in general, Eldon Campbell was a great player, and he held his own in terms of what his capabilities were on the court, and was a very, very respected player around the NBA and will be missed. The Lakers did acknowledge him on their Instagram, saying R.A.P. Big Easy, and a very classy thing for the Lakers to do in terms of honoring one of their legendary players. Now, on a brighter note here, Luka Doncic has been named NBA Western Conference Player of the Week for games played from Monday, November 24th through Sunday, November 30th. The honor marks his first as a Laker and 15th weekly award of his career. On a note here on Lakers.com, on an article, it says Doncic led the purple and gold to a 3-0 week, delivering one 40-point outing on two 30-point performances, all double-doubles. Over the 3-game stretch, the 26-year-old averaged 37.3 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, 10.3 assists, and 1 block, as the Lakers collected victories over the Clippers, Mavericks, and Pelicans. Doncic opened the week of November 25th with 43 points, 14 of 28 field goals, 7 of 13 3-point field goals, and 8 of 11 free throws, 9 rebounds, 13 assists, and 1 steal, 1 block in a 135-118 NBA Cup victory over the LA Clippers. With the performance, Doncic passed Earvin Magic Johnson for 10th place, already 10th place on the Lakers' all-time list for 40-point regular season games, as he has 7. His 40-plus point double-double was the 39th of his career and 4th most among active players. Can you believe that already? Doncic is already making his imprint onto Lakers history by already being in the annals of our historic franchise with his 40-point performances. Absolutely crazy, considering he's only been with the Lakers less than 1 year. Also on a statement from Lakers.com, in a 129-119 NBA Cup victory over the Dallas Mavericks on November 28th, Doncic tallied 35 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists, and 1 steal. He closed the week with a 34-point performance, 12-rebound double-double to go with 7 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block, as the Lakers took down the Pelicans 133-121, improving the team's record to 15-4 on the season. That was obviously before we got blown out in against Phoenix on our home court. But that's just one loss. And the Lakers hope to rebound quickly from their loss against Phoenix at home, as they're on the road for a 3-game roadie starting today in Toronto, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time against the Toronto Raptors. And then Friday, a classic rivalry game in Boston at the TD Garden against the hated Boston Celtics. That's on December 5th. And then Sunday, December 7th, against the Philadelphia 76ers in Philly. So 3-game roadie for the Lakers, and hopefully we can go 3-0 throughout that stretch. Now, on that note, there's been a lot of rumors and news and all this coming out where Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks has seemingly requested a trade from the Bucks. I'm not quite sure the official stance on all that, considering his head coach Doc Rivers said that at any point did Giannis record or attempt to have a trade request from the Milwaukee Bucks. But nonetheless, these are reports coming in that Giannis has officially begun his trying to exit himself from the Milwaukee Bucks, as they have had a horrendous start to the season. And things did not get any better for Giannis yesterday as he left the game against the Detroit Pistons. Giannis left the game with an apparent calf injury. That's what they're calling it. But we all kind of see what's going on here. Now, I'm not saying that Giannis is faking an injury. That's not what I'm saying. Absolutely not. But we've seen it again where, players are just are injured, right? But they are coming off a trade request, and just so happens that they're too injured to play. I'm not saying that that's what Giannis is doing, but the timing just seems a little too sketchier for that. I'm just saying. But as the season goes on for the Milwaukee Bucks, it is very, very apparent that they need to make a decision on whether they're going to try and keep Giannis Antetokounmpo for the remainder of his contract, or if they can try to trade him and get assets before Giannis eventually walks in free agency next year. Giannis, I believe, is under contract to the Milwaukee Bucks until next season. So they can just try and keep him and try to mend fences and try to build around Giannis as much as possible. But we've already seen that from the Milwaukee Bucks, and it's something that's not getting better. Now, where the Lakers come into this, which is why I'm mentioning this, is because, the Lakers are always in trade rumor considerations for top tier players, and you're going to start hearing it as if it didn't start happening already. People are trying to come to conclusions of how the Lakers can try and get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, personally, I would love to see it. Love to see Giannis in a Lakers jersey. I just think it just looks right? Him and Luka as Lakers, that'd be so great. That would be so great. But is it possible? Is it possible for the Lakers to actually make a trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Considering where their salary cap is, considering what their team looks like right now, do they have enough to make a trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo? And does it make sense for the Lakers to make a trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Now, look, you can try to maneuver your way all throughout the NBA trade machine to try and get a trade going on. But the facts are that it's very, very difficult to make trades in the NBA. The Lakers getting Luka Doncic was, I don't even know what to call that. That was like a unicorn in terms of trades, okay? That does not happen anymore in terms of just getting purely lucky getting a superstar on your team, okay? That was a unicorn. But is it possible? It's certainly possible. Anything is possible in terms of getting Giannis. It's just going to take a haul of players. And does it make sense for the Lakers to send out a haul of players like an Austin Reeves, like a Jared Vanderbilt, like a Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent? All of those guys, you're going to have to gut your team and give up draft capital in order to get Giannis. Is it worth it? I think it is worth it, only if it, helps the Lakers, in a sense, win the championship within the next 2 years. But is it worth it long term? Giannis is already in his 30s. He's already in his 30s. He's played a long time already. He's certainly capable of being a number 2 guy on a team. Imagine a team with LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. To me, that would be the clear-cut favorite to win an NBA championship. You still had to go through the Oklahoma City Thunder, but, that's the clear-cut favorite. But what does your team look around after that? Do you still keep an Austin Reeves? Do you still keep a guy like Rui Hachimura or DeAndre Ayton? Those are valuable assets in which an NBA championship aspiring team needs to have. You need to have assets, you need to have role players, you need to have guys that can get it done all together off the bench. Right? It's not about 3 superstars. It's about what the whole team looks like. Now, if you can try and come up with a trade that doesn't gut your whole team, definitely go for it. Now, is Milwaukee going to want to do that for the Lakers? Who knows? I don't think so. After what happened with the Luka trade, who knows what NBA teams are going to want to do in terms of helping the Lakers. But if it helps their team, it's possible. It's a matter of what the Lakers are willing to give up, and it's a matter of what the Milwaukee Bucks are willing to take in terms of getting assets for Giannis Antetokounmpo. All right, you guys, that'll do it for today's podcast. I want to thank you guys for listening and continuing to show your support for all the podcasts and stuff that we do here on our channels, on TikTok, on social media, Instagram, Twitter, X. You can find us all at Lace 'em Up Sports. Continue to hit that like and subscribe buttons. We're just continuing to try to make our way up into adding subscribers. And so thank you guys for your continued support. And this is the LA Sports Roundup podcast, and I'll see you guys next time.